the button. Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of Market Rants. I'm Wabi, and today I'm here joined by Trader XO. First things first, before we go ahead and get started, let's go ahead, check the top gainers and losers. A bunch of shitcoins. I have no idea what they are. Terra, one of the top gainers. Are you kidding me, brother? What is going on? GigaChat, this is one that I'm looking at on Solana. I don't have a position yet, but a good friend of mine, Tiger Global, did share that with me. So we'll see how that pans out, man. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and just kick it on over to XO. He's got some charts here ready to present some nice treats for us. So before I go ahead and pass it over the mic, guys, smash the like button. Smash that like button. If you're feeling good, smash the like button. If you're bullish, smash the like button. Without further ado, Trader XO, thanks for joining me today. How are you doing today, brother? Great to have you back. What is going on, brother? What are you seeing today for the markets?
What am I seeing today? It's the first day back since a good few days off, bank holiday weekend, and a fairly quiet period in the market for the last few days. Caught most of the move up from 56, 57K up to 71. Same on Ethereum, long 2900s, all the way to 37s, 3750. And just been chilling since, really. Not a great deal to do other than look at some charts, mainly focusing on altcoins to see which structures I'd like to play and what altcoins I'd like to position into over the coming weeks heading into Q3. So taking a very slow approach to the markets during this Q2 phase. I think we've avoided, or I'm hoping that we've avoided most of the significant downside. And hopefully we're starting to see some consolidation phases, particularly on altcoins lining up for Q3.
Yeah, man, I remember during the last show, that was basically right before destruction. A lot of altcoins, man, got absolutely hammered. Carrot, ENA, a lot of the centralized exchange altcoins, right? But over the last couple of weeks, we've sort of had a resurgence on meme coins. And during my stream, something for me, man, if you bring up the Pepe chart and the Nvidia chart, there's something going on there, man. And I sort of think that, like, what's sold, man? And this thing is no longer, a mid cap. This is a top 20 asset. I think it flipped Matic, dude. It actually flipped Matic yesterday.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me. A bag of shit could flip Matic, so there you go. Just holds true, doesn't it?
Yeah, but just to keep things more rational.
That's about as rational as it gets. Come on, man.
During our stream on Friday on Market Check, Tucker actually brought up that Pepe was nearing the 1618, and if we take a look at Pepe right now, basically touched the 1618 and is about 20% down from the highs. So there comes a point with meme coins, no matter if you're a meme coin, fundamental coin, or gaming coin, the fibs are always respected. They are always respected, man. So what are your thoughts on Pepe, man? My gut feeling is that perhaps we chop around here, and I know you pay attention to liquidity cycles and all that stuff, and usually that first half of Q3 is where you get the bulk of the summer rally. But going into June, it's usually more of an accumulation period.
I mean, looking at Pepe, it's not something that I would play personally, to be honest with you, because if you caught the move up, great. I think you've done very well. But personally, looking to long this from up here, it's just personal preference, not something that I would really do. But I'm sure others may be inclined to continue trading the momentum up, looking for the sharp pullbacks and continuation higher. But yeah, like I said, just for me, it's not for me, to be honest with you. So I'll leave it to those who trade Pepe quite well. I'm certainly not somebody who's touched it much, if I'm honest with you.
Oh, man, brother.
I'd love to say more, but I don't know what more I can really say. It's certainly not a market that I play, but yeah, like I said, it's doing very well,
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Dogecoin, to be honest, man, in the sense that, like, go ahead. You go first.
No, I think you're right in some respects there. It's been a phenomenal rally. It's been a phenomenal run. When I think of Dogecoin, I know there's a lot of push behind Doge when you look at Doge, but It remains to be. It really remains to be seen. I mean, I see people calling for $1. It could happen, but I just think when you look at the other meme coins, the slightly new shinier meme coins, they've all performed relatively well in comparison to Doge, which is, in all fairness, has been sideways since October 2022. The top of the range was around about 12 cents. The lower part of the range was 6-7 cents. You hit a high of 23 cents. So, 2-3x at best compared to some of the memes on Solana and Pepe. It's pretty evident where, the best opportunities have been. You've got Whiff, Bonk, Pepe. Personal favorite of mine is Myro. That's another one that I'm riding up. It's one of the main memes that I'm in. And again, even this from the lows here where I've pretty much been following this trade and mapped it out. We fell back into a range around about 11-12 cents. And if you look at this, it hit a high of 30 cents the other day. So almost a 2 to 3x, I still believe this continues to go higher. Looking at the 12-21 daily moving average, something that I've alluded to. We've got the crossover. Okay. I suspect this should hopefully continue higher. Well, that's what I'm hoping for anyway, until I have reason to believe so otherwise.
The chart for me is still showing Doge. I'm not sure if oh, there it is. There it is. I see it now. Yeah, you're good now.
Yeah, so basically, just keeping it very simple. When we see these sell-offs in the market, you can see that what I've basically tried to do is just really break it down in layman's terms. The kind of the structures that I like to see markets play out is you've got a base accumulation, and then you get the bull cross on the 12-21 daily into a trending market. And this is where I really want to capitalize in terms of riding the trend higher. During these phases of, again, you get the market sell-off, a phase of range consolidation chop. This is where I generally tend to trade less or just stick to rotational trading, really looking to position into longs, swing longs at the lows or building a position on spot. Again, you get the 12-21 crossover, price rallies to the high, distribution, breaks down, back into that range low. So I've been positioning into this since 15-16 cents, again, looking to trade this hopefully at least back up to 35-36 cents. Maybe new all-time highs. We'll have to wait and see. But again, like I said, I'm not here to guess where price is going to go. I'm just going to take it each day at a time. And if I feel that there's any reason that this is topped out sooner than I anticipate, then I'll probably look to take profit sooner than expected.
Man, there is one chart that I've been looking at also, man. If you missed Pepe, right? And this is one that has had a lot of momentum. And usually when Pepe runs, I see that the broader market rallies, right? We saw that second half of Q2 when Pepe rallied, we had a bunch of AI stuff, a bunch of meme coins run. And a lot of VC tokens just had like a little complacency shoulder. They didn't really rally much, right? But if you pull up MOG XL, MOG against Pepe, I feel like MOG is a few weeks behind Pepe, and this thing can really like do a 3x out of nowhere. And when it comes to memes XL, I'll say this, right? Like there's a lot of over. It's really only going to be a handful, due to moves that Doge did last cycle, because as you said, right, Elon was pushing Doge. It's things that trend outside of our circle, right? And
yeah,
what's the virality behind this stuff, right? I sort of feel like with some memes, they have a ceiling to them, where there's some things like Pepe, right? Like Pepe is trending everywhere, right? It's the most used meme on CT. So yeah, so I think your chart dropped off, man. It's not here on my end. I'm not able to bring it up.
There we go. Should come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fascinating cycle, isn't it? How we've just skipped past all the projects that sell themselves as being some of the best tech around. These new parallelization layer ones, layer twos, and really the focus just has been on this retail mania of meme coins. Maybe meme coins are the ones to play for the next several months. Maybe that's where some of the best opportunities are likely to be. Everybody seems to be looking for that next bonk or whiff play, right? But I think the problem is that there's so much shit coming out day in, day out. It's really difficult I just find it really difficult to keep track of it all.
That's the trenches, man. You got to be active on Telegram groups.
Absolutely.
You got to have a community. You gotta have an army of guys around you, man. Truthfully, like
exactly.
If you're coming into the market now compared to when we came in 2017, it's a different ball game, dude. Like I can't imagine myself just being on Coinbase or just on Gemini. Like it's impossible. You sort of have to be like terminally online. And I know you put up a tweet earlier today saying that, you know, you don't even want to imagine how the altcoin space is going to be in a couple of years, right? Because like number one, right, earlier in the year when I came on your show, I thought, you know, these new tokens, right, just like Dime, were going to blow face. And I ended up cutting it right when it was distributing at almost like, you know, $7.5 to $8. I've just seen that pattern way too much in it. And it sort of gave me like 2018 PTSD, right? If you remember Wanchain, bro,
I enjoyed Wanchain.
That price action will forever haunt me. It does like a 2 to 3x, 3.5x, you know, in 2 weeks. It distributes and then it's just down only from there. So
I like this because I think when you and I covered Dime last year or early January,
yeah,
as
it wasn't even out yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you're obviously entitled to your opinions, and opinions change over time. When you spoke about Dime Saga, this was back in January. These coins came out and listed in February, March. Now, for me, right, based upon the back of what you said, was I interested in buying Dime at $5 when it was probably 3-4 billion market cap? Not really, because the upside is very limited in terms of, you know, diminishing returns. What's the best I'm going to get? A 2x, a 3x down here at $2.50. And the fact that as soon as it got listed, I think the market topped out in mid-March, okay, so around about here. Yeah. It's been on a bleed since. It's dropped from $8 all the way down to $2.10, well, $2.50. I literally bought the lows at $2.56, $2.57. This is where I'm long from. Now, for me, we talked about this on a previous stream, if you recall, when I talked about certain patterns to look out for where I think some of the best opportunities are going to be. Now, I'm not talking about hitting a 20x or a 30x, but I'm talking about a decent trade with some decent size behind it, looking for anywhere between a 3 to 5 to 7 to a 10x. So again, looking for those J curves that I talked about. Price is selling off. Hopefully this is the formation or the beginning of the bottom. Now, I don't know at which point this picks up momentum. Is this likely to pick up momentum anytime soon? Or are we likely to get another leg lower down and then we get that rounded bottom structure into a new trend up?
I would say another leg down, brother. There's a lot of things that you don't see in the chart, right? Like with tokens like Dime, they have these crazy emissions, right? If you look at even something like a Kujira, right? A lot of these Cosmos tokens, there's always some like shady business in the background. And EXO, I'll be real with you, man. Like these pitches that these founders give, right? This life-changing tech to scale interoperability or whatever. I mean, it's all bullshit at the end of the day, man. Like people come for the price, they come for the momentum, they come from the volume. And the fact of the matter is, man, you even have things like Andy where, yeah, sure, they're only like 150, 200 mil market cap and they're just memes, right? But the volume they produce is like 30, 40 million a day. And these are on-chain tokens. These aren't like things that are listed on Binance and on KuCoin and stuff like that. And like the market has legitimately priced out things like Aptos, things like TIA, things like Dime, things like Say.
For now, I'd say for now, Webby. Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing for me. When everybody's not talking about a Dime, a Saga, a TIA, you know, whatever else there is out there, then probably that's the time to start paying attention when the crowd are looking elsewhere. You know, it's not so much trying to be a contrarian; it's just trying to find good trading opportunities. As for the tech, I agree with you. Look, I'm sure many of these teams are working hard behind the scenes to deliver great tech. But are they really solving a real world problem? I'm not so sure. Maybe not. I'm not really here for the tech. I'm here for good trading opportunities. If that means that the tech has got good foundations or there's a narrative behind it like parallelization, and that seems to be the in thing, then I'll play that again. But so, you know, when I look across the board on some of these top charts, there's Dime, the Saga, another one. I think I was on your stream. I think several weeks ago when it's around about here, I think it was, and I said look for $2. If it comes down to $2 and starts showing signs of bottoming out, that's around about a 70% retracement from the highs, or 75%. At that point, I'm looking for some form of bottom formation to play out. It probably is slightly early. I'm not too sure whether the lows are in, but if we see a lack of sellers at the lows, or sellers are exhausted represented by small body candles and a drop off in volume, maybe you should bring up the volume profile here, or the volume bars. It doesn't really gauge. You can't really gauge too much from this, but again, just looking at this, you can see there's a slightly more larger transactional volume occurring here. But ultimately, if this is the bottom and I do happen to get another test, I'd like to get into position. If it breaks below, I'll just wait for a reclaim, and then we'll probably look to trade it higher. Again, just in terms of opportunities, when you look at where this listed, it was around about $7 to $8. So if this is the low at $2, back to $8, even halfway to 6 or 7, I'll happily take that trade, So I think there's plenty of trading opportunities, but as opposed to meme coins, a freshly minted meme coin may give you a better play in terms of a 10, 20x, but it is like playing a lottery ticket, really, in my opinion.
And I would say with these VC tokens, they're basically lottery tickets, in my opinion, man. Simply because, every single quarter, there's always a meme that runs hard. Always. In Q1, we had Floki rip face. In Q2 of last year, we had Pepe rip face. Q3, we had Ticker Bitcoin. Q4, we had Whiff. Q1, we had Pepe and a bunch of other things on ETH like MOG. Q2, the early Q2, we had base run. We've had base running here and there the last couple of weeks. Whether it's VC tokens, man, like they've only had 2 rallies, right? First one was in early Q1 of last year, right? We had Injective and things like that, Aptos. And then in Q4, when we had Tia and Say. And I feel like, people can say, oh, memes this, memes that. But, man, just look at some of these VC tokens that have launched recently, dude. It's basically a bear market against Bitcoin. Like, why would anybody buy anything that is just profusely bidding against Bitcoin when the market has shown you quarter after quarter what the market demands, right? So, from a trading perspective, right, like if you're trying to get like 10, 15, 20% moves on lower time frames, I mean, you can basically trade anything. But for exponentials, man, like,
I think it depends, right? I think it depends on portfolio size. I think it depends on how much size you can get behind a coin. So really, for me, it's more about position sizing. If I can hit an altcoin with size and talk about a good risk to reward setup, then I'll take it if it's fairly liquid enough, as opposed to trying to jump into a meme coin that's been newly listed and willing to chuck in 5-6 figures at it. Probably not for me, but maybe for somebody else who's willing to put in, say, 10, 15, 20K, and in the hope that it can pull a 50x, great. More power to them for that. But yeah, just not something that, I don't know, maybe it's not for me. I'll play a few memes, but I'm probably the wrong guy to talk about meme coins in this instance. You're probably better at them than I am, and some of the other guys on Because Bitcoin.
Oh, you pulled up a chart, man. I was
just looking at Arbitrum. So classic example of one that I think it's been a decent rally, but it's really retraced almost back to the lows, right? In contrast to, well, kind of to back up what you said in terms of certain coins just perform well, and before you know it, they're all the way back at the lows. So, and I just don't know what the future holds. Is this a good opportunity to start buying Arbitrum, or are there better opportunities out there? So for me, I think there's better opportunities out there.
I think so.
Yeah, but just a classic example that not every chart set up at the cycle lows is going to be a good buy, because there will be outliers that outperform, whereas something like Arbitrum, could it go back to the highs? Absolutely, but from $1 to $2, I think there's better plays out there.
Yeah, I personally think MOG would outperform Arbitrum by a significant amount, a huge amount. And I'm telling you right now, brother, in 6 months from now, 8 months from now, you're gonna say, "Damn, Wabi was right again." Wabi was right again. And with these memes, XO, like, they've now been around for over a year now. Like, Pepe's been around for over a year. MOG has been around for a year. And with things like Arbitrum, man, there's like, I know you come from the 2017 class, and I feel like that class is always going to have some fundamentals to it. But at some point, dude, like the fundamentals play into the price action, and Arbitrum is not really playing into the game, dude. Like they're just not. There's no narrative. There's no spice behind it.
Correct,
Even like the last cycle, if we ignored, dude, MOG is overextended. Like, yeah, sure, it's overextended and all that stuff. But I'm saying from like a broader perspective, right? These tokens usually have about 4 massive rallies, right? We take a look at 2020, right? We had DeFi summer. That was, perhaps the first big rally. We had Q1, we had the summer rally, and then, that final blow off, right? And if we think BTC is going to 100K, then, let's just say perhaps, the layer 1 bubble from last cycle, right? If we combine Cardano, Luna, AVAX, Solana, right? If we combine those market caps and Phantom, the market cap is basically $250 billion. And my dubious speculation is that this cycle, the market cap of meme coins is going to eclipse the layer 1 bubble. I mean, we have a presidential election where they're starting to talk about crypto, and it's going to be in everybody's face. And, if you pitch a meme, right, that people use, right, like MOG, I MOG you, you just got MOG'd, right? Like it's usable. It's used outside of our space, right? And then you compare something like an L2 or an L1, right? What are they going to buy, right? That's sort of like what I'm thinking about. And, Exo, I know the conversation that we had on your show back in January is a lot different than how it is right now, but
well, it's good though, Wabi, because it shows you've got adaptability compared to where you were 6 months ago, right? You approach the market with a view that you're looking at fundamentally sound projects, and now 6 months later, you're talking about absolute shitters like meme coins, which have no real utility, but they've got virality in terms of it captures the audience out there, especially those who are looking to get into this space. It reminds me of the previous cycle when SHIB came out, and I had friends message me who knew nothing about crypto, and the first thing they're looking to buy was SHIB. I was like, don't fucking touch it. It's a pile of shite. But lo and behold, look at where SHIB is today. So it just goes to show that it's where people flock to, and it seems to be meme coins are really catching fire again in this current cycle, or at least this year anyway. So who knows, right?
Yeah, man.
But it's great. But that's the key. That's the key thing, though. That's why I like enjoy talking to you, because you're not fixed or fixated to your narrative. You're willing to change. You're willing to adapt as to what the sentiment is, and I think it pays to be aware of essentially what's trending out there, where the majority of the crowd is. Sorry to interrupt, but talking about meme coins, I think that's a nice segue onto the next part, which I'd like to bring up with you. Thanks to Bitcoin Charlie for bringing this tweet up earlier to my attention. But daily new users on Base is skyrocketing. Over 50,000 new wallets are using Base every day. Just imagine what happens when Coinbase Smart Wallets rolls out. So I really do think that Base will get a second coming of potentially memes just going absolutely berserk over there. So
same, dude. I've got some shitters on there, dude. I've got Apetardio and I've got OKEG. Apetardio is like 1 mil market cap. It's a complete super micro cap. I've got OKEG that's like 8 mil, 9 mil market cap. I've got Normilio, which I know that I shared with you like a week or two ago. But I mean, outside of that, I know like there was a contract exploit with one of like the bigger memes, right? It was Normie, but I believe they're going to reimburse people 1-to-1. They're just going to fork the contract. So, I mean, that's like the wild thing about crypto, right? Like your contract can get exploited, but you can just fork it and just airdrop people 1-to-1, right? I think, remember last cycle that happened with Paid Network, and that was during the time launch pads were the rage, right? And then they got exploited, but then they airdropped 1-to-1. So, as far as like base and all that stuff, I think about it like this, right? So I have to give some context here. So in late Q3 of last year, right, during those lows where BTC was at 24, 25K, and Solana was in the teens. I spoke with Max and I'm like, brother, we got to do a YouTube video on Solana, right? This was like early September. Sol is trading at like 13, 14 bucks. And I'm seeing some altcoins that look prime, right? That's when I got into Crown. That's when I got into Neon. And during that time period, the only thing that people were trading was Rollbit. Like in September, that was the only ticker that had, a lot of juice in them, because everything else was pretty much dead when it came to volatility. So, I'm like, there's all these new tickets coming out on Solana. Solana has a sleek interface. Perhaps this thing is going to lead, right? And it ended up happening. And I sort of feel that base is coming into that, same pipeline of growth, where we see that those first batches of like, micro caps that run, they retrace, and then they go into a long accumulation zone and all that stuff. So, we saw Normie before it get hacked run. I believe we also had Normelia, we had Boomer, and now you have new tickers, right? Like OKEG and Aptardia, which they start off as micro caps, right? Full disclosure, right? If you came into crypto during the 2017 cycle, you're used to trading things at sub 5 mil, sub 10 mil. When things like Dragon Chain and all that stuff came out, and Wabi, right? That's where I got the name from. All these tickers came out at sub 10 mil market cap. So when you guys, hear these streams or hear the spaces where we talk about micro caps and all that stuff, you have to understand the context that we've been in the game for a couple of years now. And so, there is opportunity in micro caps. And that's why, like, the strategy that I like to use is, like 70% of everything I've got is in high caps, and the other 30%, I mess around in micro caps and all that stuff. And
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you this: what would you classify as a micro cap versus low cap? Where's the barrier? What's the?
So I would consider micro cap anywhere between like 1 mil to 10 mil. I consider that micro cap.
See, I would have thought micro cap is a micro cap, or I should say micro crap, is anything under a mil. So you're talking just like a few 100,000. That's what I would have thought a micro cap is.
Yeah.
It's interesting you think it's above 1 mil. I would have thought it was under 1 mil.
Yeah. I don't know.
It varies, doesn't it?
Yeah, I haven't really dabbled too much in it, but I know last cycle there were a lot of guys that got into VRA at under a mil, and it was under a mil for a while. So,
I mean, having said that, look, I mean, I remember picking up BQX in 2017, which later rebranded as Voyager, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Superman, bro.
Yeah. It was Ethos. Like, no, it was Ethos. Ethos, BQX, Superman shielded it. And I remember in November 2017, the ICO price was 5 cents. I think I picked up some for 15, 20 cents. Yeah. And I think looking back on coin market cap, or whatever it's called, I think the market cap when I picked it was around about 250K. And back then nobody complained if people were shilling it, but that actually ran from 20 cents for me, 25, 30 cents, all the way through to $14, literally. And again, it's like you said, it's just trying to identify those one or two players that you think can go on to pull a 20, 30, 40, 50x, right? So I've pretty much bought some of the altcoins that I wanted to buy last August. I'm still holding some, like TVK, which rebranded to Vanry. I've still got a big chunk of PAL, which is, at the highest pulled an 80, 90x for me or whatnot. And I think there's some other players that I've got as well. And alongside that, I've obviously invested in projects. The problem with investing in projects is that we are on a fairly long vesting period for at least 12 months for most of the projects that I'm in, so which means that I probably won't see 80% of my tokens until towards the end of the year or early next year. So, that now makes me think, well, what's the next narrative going to be? And I think I have to look at the base chain, looking at alts coming on base, meme coins. What's your thoughts on AI? Do you think AI still has a role to play, looking at Nvidia going higher? Do you think AI is going to get another push in Q3, Q4 maybe?
Excel. So before I speak, on my end, it shows that you have the June analytics chart. Is that what you're showing right now?
Correct. That is what I'm showing. Yeah, it was just the increase of base users has gone exponential. So that was very interesting to see. So that, you know.
So for AI, right? Again, full disclosure, what we're discussing here on stream now, guys, we're discussing low caps. I can't really, just talk about BTC and Pepe the entire time, right? I know some people, they only like to hear about high caps and all that stuff, but moving forward, I want to have this stream, explore other venues, right? Perhaps mid caps, sometimes low caps, all that stuff, because that's where the opportunity is, right? That is where the opportunity is. So as far as AI, right, I do like to look at high caps like FET and like Tau, but really I like to look at things that are trending at lower market caps, right? So I know after our stream in April, I showed you DEAI, and that's a ticker that when AI gets trending, it really moves hard, and it ends up going to like the top 10 on Dex Screener. And, I think with what they're doing, right, they're basically building an L1 where you're basically going to be able to build AI infrastructure on top of it, right? So it's basically a proof of stake Tau, right? But I like to look at DEAI as far as like, how on-chain is going for AI and all that stuff. But as far as broader market narratives, I know that Nvidia just recently had a stock split, and that's going to be going live soon. So just from like a numerical perspective, right, like unit bias, retail is going to say, oh crap, this thing is $100, $120 per share, right? So, and one other thing to take note of that I've noticed is that Nvidia is basically what Tesla was last cycle, where the entire crypto market is dependent on this price action. If you take a look at the top trending tickers from Q1 up until when Nvidia peaked around like mid-March, that's when Pepe peaked, that's when BTC peaked. So
it's pretty much most of the altcoin market, crypto market peaked. In fact, not just crypto, but equities as well, which all pulled back heading into April for reasons which I probably don't want to delve into too much, but it was to do with tax season and lack of liquidity in markets. It was something that I actually covered and shorted as well, if you recall, on Bitcoin and Ethereum. One of the reasons why I was talking about, don't be surprised if we see a fairly decent correction, which we had. We had a 40% correction followed by a consolidation phase. And for me, that was a buying opportunity. If we shift over to Total 2, Abby, I think just on the back of what you said, if you look at Total 2, I mean, I do feel, or I do believe for now anyway, until conditions change for whatever reason, that this is the consolidation phase before we see potentially a trend out into Q3, maybe, hopefully. As long as this low here holds around about the $900 billion level on Total 2, I'm going to continue being a buyer and positioning into altcoins, looking for price to push up to that 1.8 trillion on Total 2. And probably the same can be said for Total 3 as well. Let's have a look at where we are with Total 3. Looks fairly decent, it's respecting the trend line.
It's still showing Nvidia on my end.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not sure why. But must be some sort of lag. But anyway, nevertheless, I think the Total 2 and Total 3 charts look great. And I use this as a barometer to gauge just kind of the general health of altcoins across the board on Total 2, Total 3. It's not obviously something we can trade, but it has served me well over the last 7 years in terms of, last several years, I should say, in using Total 2, Total 3 to ascertain when to be defensive, when to be attacking altcoins. And like I said, most of the range where, price really didn't do a great deal from May 2022 all the way through to January 24th of Jan. You could probably say October is when the real lows were in, and on the back of the QRA announcement by the Fed. And ever since then, we have broken out into a bull market. So I want to look to continue trading the trend to the upside from a positional perspective. So for now, I don't really see anything concerning or alarming. I just see a phase of reaccumulation and consolidation until proven otherwise. But for now, looking to be risk on in the markets heading into Q3.
Yeah, I think there's a clean 3-month time period where the market can literally melt up. Fed's not really expected to cut rates until September, October, but XL, I'll tell you this, man, if BTC does the same thing that it did last year, which I'm hoping that it does, right? Last summer, we saw BTC make a new year-to-date high. I think it was like above 5%. In July, we hit like 31.5, which is 5% more than what we hit in April of that same year. But while BTC was, in that upper range where BTC spent most of 2023, and altcoins went absolutely ballistic, man. So kind of hoping the same thing happens, right? BTC hits like 77, 80K and all that stuff. But I think, man, and I think we should address the elephant in the room here. The Ethereum ETF, the spot ETF, got approved. And if we look at, the daily emissions from ETH, right, there's about 2,500 ETH that get produced every day, right? So if we just think to ourselves, all right, ETH is like what, like 25% of the market cap of BTC, something like that. The amount of buying pressure from these spot ETFs, if they're even a quarter or even a tenth of what the inflows for BTC were when those ETFs went live, you can see candles on ETH, every other day of 20-25%. And everybody knows, no matter if you're a Solana maxi or not, or you're a Cosmos maxi, God forbid, everyone's altcoins just go up only. Everybody's altcoins just absolutely melt the F up, no matter what you hold. At some point, once ETH breaks with gusto, right, I would say, break above 4,200, let's get over 4,400. People are actually going to see that first major leg down on Bitcoin dominance, which I think when it comes to BTC dominance, man, I know I'm getting overextended here in what I'm talking about, but when we look at Bitcoin dominance, I think we have two major legs down for this cycle, right? I think the first major leg down happens in Q1 of next year and in Q4 of the year after, but I think we're going to see, just a taste of what we're going to get next year, over the coming weeks once these ETFs go live, man. So, what are your thoughts, man, on the spot ETH ETF getting approved? It's sort of like a change in tone from the conversations that were being held by the powers that be, earlier in early 2023 after FTX, man. So what are your thoughts on that, man? And what are you anticipating the flows to be like and how that translates over to the altcoin market?
I'm not too sure. I mean, for an ETH ETF, I think it's great. Certainly is. And obviously, since we last spoke, I talked about that I'm looking to become bullish on Ethereum. Looking at the ETH BTC chart, I think it looks great now that we've kind of printed some lows with an RSI divergence. For me, it was inevitable that eventually this is going to pop back up, which is pretty much played out, and hence why I was long from 2,900. I'm hoping, I don't know the answer, but I'm hoping that if ETH should catch a bid, and I hope it will catch a bid in Q3, that altcoins can also continue their trajectory higher, across the board. But it remains to be seen. I just find that the dynamics and the semantics of this cycle, especially for altcoins, has been very different to anything we've seen before. And I wonder if that's the case, a simple case of the fact that there's just far too many alts out there, And is it a question of dispersion and liquidity being dispersed across, at the moment, it just seems to be that Solana on-chain shitters and meme coins have really been the ones that have performed along with AI and the odd RWA play like Ondo, But across the board in terms of, yeah.
Like outside of like maybe like two or three shitters I might not know about, like when we think about RWAs, the only one that sticks out in my mind is Ondo, right? Because SNX is not going anywhere. Maker moves really, really slow. I mean, it's been in a massive uptrend for 2 years, but it just moves way too slow in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like what I was, I am still optimistic, hopefully, but it's NXRA, which I bought at 6 cents, I believe, back in September, October. I talked about it on my own streams. It's it peaked around about 28, 29 cents and it's back down at 12 cents. I'm still holding my spot back. My spot positions are more of like, I'm just willing to hold them. Some will play out, some will go to shit. But I'm hoping the ones that do pay out, and I'm looking to cash in on those positions. So I'm not going to nail everything. I feel as I've got a fairly decent balanced exposure. I've got exposure to meme coins. I've got exposure to AI. I've got exposure to RWA. I'm not really touching DeFi. I don't really hold L1s. I'm just looking to trade L1s. And like I've covered, I think I've covered several charts. Saga was one. These are ones that I'm actually looking to trade on a futures account, or whether it's a spot or futures account remains to be seen. Saga is one, Dime's another. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, Tensor is probably another one as well that I've got positioned into at the lows here, around about 80 cents, 84 cents. I'm still holding that. I'm looking for this to go back to the highs around about $1.50, $2. My invalidation is very clear. If it breaks below these lows here, I'll have to cut the trade. And then we'll just have to see what happens, whether it goes lower. I don't know whether I'll get to buy, push back inside. Obviously, I'll just pick up another bag and hopefully catch it a second time around. Or I've got enough positioning that if it does take off, great. I'm positioned quite nicely. So I've the way I'm looking to play the market heading towards Q3. I don't know if we're going to get another leg down, but if we do, fine. I've got plenty of ammo to position into some of the altcoins like Saga. I've not bought any Saga yet. That's probably one I will pick up if I get a retest of the lows. If not, fine. I've got enough exposure as it is anyway. So for me, it's just trying to be flexible, trying to be adaptable to the market conditions, because I think it is. I don't think it's going to be an easy ride up for the next several weeks at least. But I really do hope at some point in Q3 or Q4 the market ticks up. But at the same time, you've got to be cognizant of downside risk, right? It only takes one major event or one real shift in the markets before everything is just falling off a cliff. So you always have to remain cognizant about the downside risks as well. Nothing is a given in the market. So, for me, I don't really have any long-term predictions. I don't really have a 6-month timeline or outlook. I'm just taking it week by week on the premise that I'm hoping price does continue going higher. Looking at US and global liquidity flows, hoping that can, lead to prices pushing higher across all asset classes, especially risk on markets. So hopefully looking at Nvidia, equities, NASDAQ, if they're catching a bid, then I'd like to think Bitcoin does trade higher. And for that matter of fact, Ethereum and altcoins as well. So until you get that big macro event where there's some real red flags, I'm just looking to remain positioned to the upside, and just essentially using hedges or taking profits to manage downside risk. I don't really have any predictions here.
Tensor actually looks pretty good, man. It actually looks
it looks decent. Looks decent. I was very impressed by. I thought it was going to give in.
What's the market cap?
Oh God, I think you've caught me out there. I think it might be 500, 600. Not FDV, but current market cap. Let me just check it. It could be 200-300. Yeah. I'm not sure.
I hope so, man.
I think it'll do well. So. I think it'll do well.
Man,
it's 133. Sorry, it's 133 million market cap, just over $1 billion FDV. So yeah, decent.
Nah, I just gotta check the emissions to see if this is gonna be a short-term trade or a long-term trade. But man, I was looking at Carrot today and I was a bit disappointed. That was a pretty harsh rejection from $1. It just got straight smacked down. And then I saw my memes run instead, and I'm like, damn, bro.
So what's the play behind Carrot? Because believe it or not, I actually picked up a bag at 64, 65 cents. I think it was all the way back in all the way back here. So it ate a bit of shit on drawdown, but I'm not here to catch the lows on these spot plays. But what's the why did you pick up a bag of Carrot?
Yeah, so my thesis is that gaming at some point is going to be that next that catches virality, because when it comes to these L1s and L2s and all that weird stuff and modularity, you can't pitch that to retail, man. You can't pitch it. But with gaming, yeah, sure, like Carrot is a VC token like Sandbox was, but Sandbox caught virality. And, last cycle we had Sandbox achieve 40 bill FDV. And, that would equate to Carrot going to double digits, but I know the context is different, right? You know, last cycle, when alt season was actually possible because people got all that free money, and just liquidity conditions were a lot more lenient, right? Access to easy money was everywhere, right? Whereas this cycle, we haven't had alt season because the market conditions have been different completely, right? Alt season has happened across multiple sectors for the last 18 months, but it's not as easy as last cycle. You can just buy something like a Polkadot or some like other fancy L1 or L2 or whatever, some ZK, whatever, roll up and print a 30x in 12 months. It's completely different. So like you're forced to actually put in work, but it's not work if you just left curve it, right? So outside of memes, right? And I mean, brother, like we were on calls when Pepe was pumping hard, and like what I did when I got listed on KuCoin and all that stuff, bro. Like you heard of the beeps, you heard of the trades going through at the top. So I thought to myself, like, what else is going to trend like memes? It's probably going to be gaming, right? It's the easiest thing to understand, and it's not hiding behind this anything like that. It's just a fun game, and I think at the very least, perhaps like towards the end of the cycle, we can have like a huge run where this thing does like a 15x or a 20x, right? From like $1 or $2. That's like not my dubious speculation, right? Like, one last push on their narrative. And I think that's going to be gaming. Whereas, looking at L1s and all that stuff, I'm looking at TIA and Say and Dime, just like Aptos when it was going on its second leg. Like, yeah, Aptos had a second leg, but it didn't even break its all-time high because of all the trapped buyers from last year, and of course, emissions and market cap and all that stuff. That's going to be the same situation that these L1s go through, right? Like they've already had big pumps. There's a lot of trapped buyers. The market cap is going to achieve an all-time high well before the price does. That's the thing with these L1s. That I've already ran, right? Whether it's something like a Carrot, it hasn't really had that massive pump. It's a new ticker. It's still in a long accumulation range. And so I think when this thing runs, it's going to explode. But for the meantime, I'm just going to pay attention to what the market gives. And as far as Celestia goes, I think if we get a weekly close above the yearly open at 1150, perhaps there's a trade to be done there. But
so Wabi, when you were a Celestia fanboy, you were telling me this coin is going to $10,000. If you could give me a price prediction now for the next 6 months or into the peaks of a bull market, if we do see an alt bull market, realistically, where do you think TIA could potentially trade back up? Do you think it could make new all-time highs over the next 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, I would say, like, if you're somebody that has made a ton of money on memes or is making a ton of money or plans to make a ton of money, I think at some point you probably want to like realize some of those gains if you don't want to go through the volatility, right? Like you see Pepe, it's down over 10% today, even though it's a high cap. There's still volatility to both the upside and the downside, right? When it comes to memes. So I think that, at some point, I do think that, out of all the VC tokens, I think it's probably going to be Celestia that makes a substantial all-time high, maybe, but it has to happen now. It has to happen ASAP. Because they are unloading, almost 200% of the supply in Cirque this October. So if it's going to happen, it has to happen in the next like 3 months because, XO, I've known you for almost 3 years now, brother. Every single year in mid-August, all the way through mid-September, there is always a shit market. And if you're a bear, you have to position yourself quite early if you're the bear for the second half of the summer, right? Because the drops, they happen very fast. So
I don't think it's about being a bear. I think logically and rationally speaking, it's about, and I said this I said this in a tweet several weeks ago that look, right? There was so much euphoria on the timeline heading into the middle of March. And I said on the timeline a few weeks ago that, look, take it as a lesson learned that if your altcoin or if your portfolio is down by 30, 40%, which is significant. A lot of people are hurting from the drop, and they still are, right? Many altcoins have not even recovered it remotely anywhere close to their all-time highs, and I'm assuming that majority of people do have altcoin exposure. Take that as a lesson, because you only get one chance in this game, such that the next time we see significant highs, and let's just assume, let's be positive and optimistic that we will see higher highs on altcoins. You've only got one chance to nail something like this and know when to get out of the market, because look at the drop that comes thereafter.
Yeah,
and before you know it,
fast too, and they happen fast.
It happens very, very fast, really, really fast. So really, the point I'm trying to make is think about an exit strategy, right? What is it going to be? Because if you're not a technical trader and you're not technically adept as perhaps others are, especially when it comes to recognizing downside risk, everybody's a hero when they're buying these lows here, right? And nailing the moves up, because no fucker sells. But when you get these moves down, that's when people tend to go quiet, and it hurts, because I've been there myself. But this is the time where you really want to be sharp and focused. When you come into these big resistance zones, you want to be thinking about, right, okay, what's the risk here to the downside? Am I happy for my portfolio to go up another 10% versus a 40% drawdown period? And if you don't feel comfortable, then hedge. And hedge doesn't necessarily mean go out there and show the market. It just means reduce your risk and go into cash, because cash is still a position. So ultimately, I hope people have learned something from this if they suffered drawdown, because the market may give you one more chance in terms of going significantly higher. And at that point, are you looking to take profit on the way up? Are you looking for some sort of rejection off a key level? Or are you just going to hold your unrealized profits all the way back down again, and you just wasted the best part of 12 months on an emotional roller coaster? Which people will.
Yeah, in a bull market, nobody has a plan. They just think higher, 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 because last cycle, because last cycle, because last cycle. And the fact of the matter is, brother, like last cycle, again, alt season happened because conditions were they were extremely different, extremely different. So yeah, memes might pump, right? But other sectors will probably profusely bleed against it. And there'll probably only be like one or two tickers on that sector that's underperforming that actually do anything. So I think, going back to your original question with TIA, if TIA is going to move, it has to happen this summer, because, from August to early October, conditions are usually always shit. And I think that when these ETF flows for spot ether happen, it's going to happen very fast, just like BTC was, right? That rally that we had once the ETFs went live, a good chunk of that move happened within 3 weeks. A good chunk of BTC's price action once the ETF went live from 40K all the way to 73K, a good chunk of that, I'm going to say it again, happened within 3 weeks. They all happened within 3 weeks. And I sort of think ETH is going to happen the same way this summer. So going back to your question, I think TIA can probably hit like $30, right around there.
$30, yeah? All right, cool.
So from the lows, right? From the lows for TIA, which is about $8, that's like what, like a 4x move from the lows, 300% move. And I think that's perfectly fine. You know what I'm saying? 50% above the previous all-time high. That's usually how these high caps move, right? Just take a look at Pepe. Pepe had a move above its previous all-time high from March by about 50%. And I think TIA is going to be the same thing, right about 50%, right? $30, you probably want to shave some off, because realistically, if you weigh your risk to reward, the TIA supply is going to double, almost triple in the next few weeks after mid-August. That's when you want to shave. And I think we probably have that next leg up after this summer, right around the election time, right? And
interesting.
Of course, the big message that I always emphasize on these streams and on our spaces, which, by the way, guys, if you guys are enjoying this, my name's Wabi. I host this show on the Because of Bitcoin YouTube channel, Market Rants, where myself and another content creator, trader, crypto market enthusiast come on here and we rant about the markets for about an hour. So smash the like button. Smash the like button. It really helps out with the algorithm. Smash that stuff. If you are bullish on crypto, if you are bullish on yourself, if you love water, you see this is the most pristine water that money can buy. This is spring water from the mountain valley. Hear that?
Is that a glass bottle?
Glass water. You hear that?
Good man.
You guys need to stop drinking water from microplastics. If you're a man, you drink water from glass. Drink water from glass. So if you're a man and you like having high testosterone, smash that like button. Smash, smash, smash. But
Wabi, so here's a point I want to make. If you look at something like BVM, right?
oh gosh.
but here's my point. No, here's my point. Look, here's my point. It's technically this here for me was get the fuck out. As soon as I saw this, get out, right? And this was on 18th of April. So if you look at this from the highs of $6 on the 18th of April, it's literally taken 6 weeks. And it's down at $1. That is a brutal drawdown. And this is what I'm referring to in the markets, where it's all well and good on the way up, but you've really got to be cognizant about starting to look for risk scenarios and risk factors that at which point in the market are you going to cut or get out the trade? Again, if you just run this forward as an example, and this is something that I often do on my own streams, like just think about how to exit. What are the risk scenarios? So obviously in hindsight, in this example now, you know that if you get this type of price action, you need to get out of the market. You can always get back in if you see acceptance back above here. If you've caught the bulk of the move here, do you really want to trade it all the way back down? Or would you rather take some profit here upon the condition that, all right, if price can establish this resistance as support, you can step back into the market and carry on trading it higher. If you're wrong, it gets back inside, you'll just cut the trade and probably watch it bleed lower down, as opposed to holding it. Now you're waiting for it to bounce back up, which never comes. And before you know it, you're depressed as fuck because it's down here. You're still back holding it. And then you get a little bounce, you get happy. Fair enough. And then it comes all the way back down. And before you know, you're depressed as fuck, and you're probably going to sell these lows here and get out at a loss.
That was the April 2022 high when BTC was at 48K. Gave you one last chance to sell Solana at like a buck. I mean, at like 180, and AVAX at almost 100, man. And most people, XO, they're not going to sell until the complacency leg starts breaking down.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's where you get a horrific trending move down. If you look at what altcoins did in terms of total two, it is a fairly brutal move down as well, in all honesty. I think you look at this, and the minute you see this, like, let me just clear the chart. Any form of a deviation or a lower high or breaking market structure. So there's your high. Okay, there's your higher high. You think, okay, all's great. The minute you get back inside, it's not quite over yet. But the minute you get a break in market structure, if you just look at the daily time frame, yeah, go ahead.
Hold on. Did you just say deviation?
I did indeed, yes.
Deviation, bruv.
Deviation, mate. Deviation. It's but honestly,
when happy days, like when,
probably happy days when I cash out and just fuck off for good. Really, no, I'm joking. Happy days when when I get to short the market in silence this time around. You know what I did last cycle, right? Yeah. So I think this time around, I hope altcoins like Tier give me an opportunity to long this back to $20, $30, and I think to myself, well, there's a great swing trade or positional trade to be had on the way up. If I can ride this from, say, perhaps $9, $10 to 20, maybe your target $30, and then that's the top. And like you said, there's a massive unlock coming on Tier. And if that's in 2025, to me, that's going to be a one-way ticket all the way back down again. You've only got to look at the likes of, let's just say, Matic, right? Because we all remember how much I enjoyed being a Matic fanboy on the way down. Again, if you just look at Matic, probably one of the best shorting opportunities I've ever experienced. And it was just clear as daylight for me. You've got this previous high in May 21. Look across the line. And this doesn't always have to happen, but when you look at this, that to me was just as clear as daylight. When you look at this from a structural perspective, let's just mark this here. When you look at that, you've just got to think to yourself, time symmetry and price symmetry. Eventually, there'll be a time. All right, this could have pushed up on high, but what is the risk to reward of continuation higher versus this coming all the way back down to the origin of the move, which is down here? Because it is an altcoin. It's not Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum. It literally is a shitcoin, right? Bitcoin, it differs. You wouldn't expect a really hefty retracement from where it probably is. Maybe you may get 30K in a bear market. Who knows, right? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But ultimately, you know, you look at this and you think, shit, that does look bad. You've got to get out. But at the same time, there's me shorting it from this $2.70, $2.80 level. Again, the point is, I'm not trying to gloat about what I've done in the past. It's just about, in all honesty, it's about recognizing risk. It's all well and good celebrating on the way up, but if you haven't realized those profits and you don't have a strategy to execute and exit the markets and pay yourself, then what good is it holding those positions where you were up exponentially only to watch it come all the way back down again? So, you know, pay yourself on the way up and pay yourself on the way down if you can't time the tops.
Man, what are some of your targets personally for upside for the cycle, right? I know like some people think that we top out at 90K. Some people think we have a double peak cycle where we hit 90K, 95K. We don't really hit 100K. We come back down to 70, 75. And then next year in Q1, when usually the first quarter of the post-halving years where a majority of, like, you know, the gains are made for the cycle, for altcoins specifically, right? And perhaps then we have BTC hit like 110.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I think trying to guess where the tops and bottoms are is a fool's game. At the end of the day, if I'm being serious, you know, for me as a trader, I couldn't fucking tell you where the top or the bottom is, and practically I couldn't care or even try to guess and say, look, I told you, I nailed it. Because there's one part of it is about trading it. Anybody can fucking call it, get it wrong or right, okay? That doesn't define who you are. It's all about how you trade it. And secondly, again, could Bitcoin go to 90K? It could. Could it go to 30K? It could. I just don't know. But for me, ultimately, if I was to take a guesstimation, and it is just a guesstimation for some fun, I would probably be inclined to draw some sort of trend line like this. So you had one peak here. There's your second touch. Maybe, I don't know. Just one way of looking at markets is trying to project where there could potentially be some resistance. And again, for me, it does line up at that 85, 90K level. If it's going to go there, then if there is a higher push higher, then I suspect this is going to be a tough level to crack, just based upon this trajectory of a kind of a channel, if you want to call it a channel. But who knows, right? I couldn't tell you. What if this here happens to be a push up to 70K and it does what Matic did on some of the other charts, and we get this? What do you do at that point? I'm not calling for a bear market, but I certainly will be taking a lot of profit off the board if this scenario happens. Only then to look to short the underside rejection. So for me, I'm just trying to be objective. I don't really care whether you want to call it bullish or bearish. For me, for now, I don't see any reason to short price or sell price from a high time frame perspective. I think there's plenty of great trading opportunities. The majority of those in 2024 have been on the way up. So I'm not looking to fade this market just yet, in all honesty. I do believe that, you know, potentially heading into Q3 or Q4, could Bitcoin go higher? I hope it does. I really hope it does. But at the same time, I just have to be aware that there could be a scenario where we could see a breakdown in price as well. What does that mean for alt season or altcoins? So you have to be open to both scenarios and just react accordingly, as opposed to marrying a bias to one side, especially at these price levels, and just try to stay objective, really. And that's just how I look at markets as a trader, in all honesty.
Man, this has been a great time, dude. We can talk forever and ever and ever.
Sorry, man. I wish you could. I wish you could tell you Bitcoin's going to go to 200,000 and start fucking peddling newsletters to sign up for $90 a month, like Plan B. But I just don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to get taken to the slaughterhouse, man. In my opinion,
over a long enough period.
Go ahead.
Look, I'll say this much: over a long enough period, I do think Bitcoin will be at six figures. I just don't know when. It could be another 5 years. It could be another 20. Who knows, right? But I think eventually it will go on to go higher. But I do also believe that there will be a time. I wouldn't like to say when, because there's just no point in guessing. But I think there will be a time where I wouldn't be surprised to see 40K. I really wouldn't. but that may not happen. That may not happen until the end of 2025. I don't know. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see 90K. So up or down, pretty much. Yeah, it is up or down. I don't know what the answer is, but for now, I'd like to believe that we are still likely to go higher than lower. When I mean higher, I mean significantly higher, rather than significantly all the way back down to
significantly
40K.
Higher. I would agree, significantly higher. I believe
we're hoping.
We have a monthly close happening tomorrow. So this is like the first May in 4 years where we were closing the monthly green. So dude, maybe September's green also. That would be something. That would honestly be absolutely nuts. We've never had green September. And like,
I mean, from a tier perspective, just looking at the monthly chart, I'd hope to see 56 to 57 really hold. You can see wick, and we saw this month's candle take out the previous two lows. Okay, and we've closed back above, significantly back above. So we are now at the resistance point. So who knows, right? We could remain within this range for at least, I don't know, no idea what's going to happen, but. What if we get a run of the highs and it comes back into the lows? We chop around, and I'd actually love to see that happen whilst Ethereum catches a bid and altcoins catch a bid, just as whilst Bitcoin is perhaps going through what we hope is not distribution but reaccumulation before Bitcoin breaks that high. That would be a dream scenario in my opinion. But like I said, we'll just see what happens. But either way, as a trader, there's plenty of trading opportunities out there, and my main focus now is altcoins heading into Q3 and Q4.
I do think, man.
You tell me, Bobby, where do you think Bitcoin's going?
Apologies. I had gotten a call and I'm using my phone's Wi-Fi, but anyways, maybe a little higher high, right? Like 77, 78K. And then we just go back into accumulation, and just range from like 65 to 70 up until Q4. And then we make that massive all-time high. But, the context of that is like, this market won't be affected by rate cuts, and that's just not the case. So, just from the trajectory, we have a little rally, we get cuts, we get smacked down. New president comes in, rates settle in early Q1, and then we have that massive post-halving bull run, So I think for now, if you're playing altcoins, the rotations happen quick, they happen fast. Some tickers, end up having, that second, third rally, like WIF had two major rallies, right? It had a rally from like 5 cents to 40 cents. Got smacked down back to like 8 cents, and then had a huge rally to like $5, right? Pepe had two rallies. So I think that this is a cycle where you probably want to rotate into majors and always have exposure, and, have a stable coin position when things get like absolutely just batshit crazy. And for me, I'm going to build a stable coin position once BTC gets near 80K, which I think it can happen this summer. So that's all I've really got, man. I guess we can wrap up here, brother. If there's anything else that you want to share with the audience.
No, I think that's it really, Wabi. I just think just be objective and approach the market one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time. Don't marry a particular bias too much. But for now, I don't really see any imminent major risk to the downside until proven otherwise. And as somebody who is moving a lot slower these days in terms of markets, I'm just looking at positional plays for this leg up into Q3, or what I hope is a leg up into Q3 based upon some of the research that I do, which is obviously following the likes of cross-border cap. I think is one of the best in this space when it comes to tracking liquidity, and it's really helped me this year to remain focused, and really looking for opportunities in the market to continue longing to the upside. So, yeah, I just hope all the viewers found this useful. My main emphasis or point is We all want to see markets go up, but just be cognizant about downside risk. It's not about being bearish. It's about preserving whatever gains you've made and locking those gains in. And hopefully you can do it time and time again every cycle and retire.
Perfect, man. That was beautifully said. So, guys, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow for Market Check at 11 a.m. EST, and then I'll be going live on Spaces a few hours after that. So if this is your first time tuning in, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Feel free to smash the like button, smash the like button. Thank you all so much for the support. XO, thank you, man. Thank you for being a Chad and coming onto these streams with me. Thank you. This is a really informative stream. We've been just ranting about markets for the last hour plus. So this is King Wabi signing out. So once again, feel free to check out becausebitcoin.com, and we'll see you all on the next stream. We've talked about a lot of things, really. We've talked about some low caps. I know some guy, like, he tipped us or whatever, but yeah, we already spoke about that ticker earlier in the stream. We talked about some other low caps on base. We talked about some low caps on mainnet ETH. We talked about some AI tickers. We talked about ETH BTC. I know people love to see that kind of content. We talked, more higher time frame stuff with Bitcoin. We talked all things crypto narratives and dubious speculation. So thank you all so much for supporting us, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care. Peace.